You're watching Unpackaged Goods. I'm your host, Jonathan Dieter. Oh, we're back. It feels good. It feels good to be back. The last month has been the whole summer's been a whirlwind. Things have just been going by too quickly. A couple housekeeping items before we dive in. If you're not subscribed to my newsletter, the Dieter Digest, you can head on over to Substack to check that out, or any of the links in my bio. You'll find it there. Goes out every Monday. It's a roundup of all the big headline news, all the fundings, all the product launches, all the distribution news, some founder stories. It's a really comprehensive newsletter. There's a lot going on, but I think it really is the best thing out there in terms of painting the whole landscape, connecting all the dots, connecting stories from previous weeks, and painting trends of what's going on in the space. So if you haven't checked it out, I'd be so grateful if you'd read it. And it's free for now. And then, if you're listening to this and if you haven't rated and reviewed us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you are listening to this, I would greatly appreciate it. Follow us, subscribe to us. Go ahead and just take a second now. If you don't subscribe to our socials, it would mean the world to me. If you could go over Deets Eats NYC, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. I'll let everybody do that now. Alrighty, Brown-Forman. Let's go. Let's dive in. So section 1, Brown-Forman says no again. So the biggest number this week is a number no one collected. So on July 26, Brown-Forman rejected Sazerac's renewed takeover proposal. So Sazerac had offered $32 per share, all cash, roughly $15 billion. The offer represented a 23% premium. And the family said no. Sazerac even went around the board and wrote directly to shareholders and directors. That's how much they wanted this. It asked them to reconsider, said they'd re-engage on terms if Brown-Forman was even willing to look at it. But the answer came from their lawyers. So Wolf Penn Branch, who is representing the Brown family, members who control the company's Class A voting shares, they called the proposal not actionable. The phrase matters. They didn't say the price was too low. They said there was no deal to discuss. And the timing makes Sazerac look smart. Brown-Forman ended merger talks with Pernod Ricard in April, and the company cut 12% of its workforce last year. CEO Lawson Whiting plans to retire once a successor is named. This is clearly a company in transition. They have an open CEO seat, workforce cuts, and a difficult spirits market. But then someone shows up with $15 billion cash offer. It kind of is crazy they didn't accept it, but that means they're betting on what they think they have as a really strong portfolio. But the thing is the Brown family isn't optimizing for an exit. Their ownership structure gives them the power to choose continuity over liquidity, even at a price that would be life-changing for pretty much anyone else. That's the lesson here. Ownership structure is the strategy. It decides who gets the final vote when the pressure is the highest. Founders love talking about control when the company's young and nobody's offering them anything. Brown-Forman shows what control actually means. You have to be willing to use it when the check is real. Independence had a price this week. The price was $15 billion. Crazy. So, I will be curious to see if now they go on an acquisition spree, if they go shedding other brands. It'll be all eyes on Brown-Forman. Sazerac now too. It's kind of like, where do you go from here? Alrighty, so we're going to continue with the spirits theme because it was a really big week in alcohol. And so we're going to shift to LVMH. They sold Beyoncé's whiskey brand back to her. And Campari cut loose of their celebrity spirits. So let's go. So on the other side of the market, Moët Hennessy, LVMH's wine and spirit division, sold its stake in SirDavis American Whiskey back to Beyoncé. Terms weren't disclosed. Beyoncé now owns the brand outright. Most headlines frame that as Beyoncé taking control. That's true, but it hides the more important direction of the transaction. LVMH got rid of it. SirDavis launched in 2024 with access to Moët Hennessy's distribution, retail relationships, blending expertise, and luxury credentials. In January, the French outlet Lettre reported the Moët Hennessy's chief executive wanted SirDavis removed or divested as the company concentrated on its core brands. Now that happened. Fuller ownership is a real asset for Beyoncé, but so is the strategic partner she just bought out. SirDavis now has to prove that the demand belongs to the whiskey, not only the launch. In the same week, we had Campari agreed to sell Cabo Wabo tequila and Biscuit and Debouche cognac to Cobblestone Brands. Cobblestone has built a business around brands that become too small or too distracting inside larger portfolios, which is the case here. The theory is simple. A conglomerate can neglect an asset that would be meaningful to a focused owner. Cabo Wabo makes this especially interesting because it has Sammy Hager's tequila. In 1 week, 2 large spirit groups stepped away from celebrity-backed brands. Kind of interesting. A famous founder can get the buyer meeting, it can get the retail slot, it can get the first purchase, but it can't make someone buy the bottle a second time. Repeat purchase still comes down to the product, the price, and whether the brand has a reason to exist after the launch campaign ends. It's another warning here for founders building with strategic partners. The partner who gives you distribution can also decide you're no longer core. Their priorities will change faster than your cap table does. Now flip the ledger. Brewers are buying outside of beer. The Spanish brewer, acquired a stake in Dalston's, a British better-for-you soda brand. Dalston's already sells through Asda, Waitrose, Okada, and independent retailers. The deal gives it access to DMUK's production, distribution, and commercial infrastructure. A brewer brought a soda company. Isn't that interesting? That makes more sense than AB InBev's latest numbers. The company reported $16.6 billion in quarterly revenue. Beer volume rose 1.1%. NA alcohol sales rose 27%. I'm sensing a trend. 1% versus 27%. AB InBev also said Cutwater, the canned cocktail brand it acquired in 2019, is on its way to becoming a billion-dollar brand after another quarter of triple net revenue growth. The core beer business is still enormous, but the growth is coming from products that stretch the definition of what a brewer makes. Canned cocktails, non-alcoholic drinks, soda, and other occasions that used to sit outside the portfolio. The cleanest way to say it is this. Growth in drinks has moved beyond the old category lines. Spirit groups are defending heritage brands and cutting what is no longer core. Beer companies learned earlier that they need adjacencies because beer volume has already been under pressure for years. They built the route to market muscle for a wider beverage portfolio. If you're building a drink outside of traditional alcohol, that matters. The most motivated acquirer may be the company whose core category needs your growth. Am does not need Dalston's because it forgot how to make beer. It needs Dalston's because consumers are drinking across occasions that no longer fit neatly into beer, spirits, or soda. The retail question. All of these stories are about control. Who controls the company? Who controls the brand? After a partnership ends, who controls production and distribution? But the consumer never sees the cap table. They see the shelf. A brand can raise money, hire a perfect operator, land a celebrity, and build a national distribution plan. A buyer still has to decide whether the product earns space. Then the customer has to decide whether it earns a second purchase. That's why we have an interview with Rachel Krupa coming up next. Rachel's the founder of the Goods Mart. Now opens in South Williamsburg, Brooklyn. The store is built around discovering and curating emerging snacks and drinks. The Goods Mart is also working with companies on corporate curation, so Rachel sees the category from both sides, what founders want to see and what customers actually pick up. Rachel sits on the other side of the pitch deck. She sees the samples, she sees the packaging, she sees which products explain themselves fast enough to survive a crowded shelf. And that is the bridge between this week's news and the interviews. Brown-Forman can turn down $15 billion because its owners control the vote. LVMH can leave SirDavis because the brand is no longer core. AB InBev can buy growth beyond beer because it controls a massive route market. Emerging brands don't have those advantages yet. They have a package, a price, a story, and a few seconds to convince a buyer that the product belongs. So while you listen to Rachel, think about one question. After the funding announcement and the launch day attention are gone, what makes a retailer keep betting on the brand? And now, my conversation with Rachel Krupa from Krupa and the Goods Mart. Awesome. Well, welcome back to Unpackaged Goods. I have a very special guest here today. I'm with Rachel Krupa. If you want to introduce yourself for everyone that doesn't know you.
Yeah, I am. Thank you for having me on. This is going to be fun. I'm Rachel, the founder of the Goods Mart, and we're a better-for-you convenience store that has been around since 2018, which is wild. And then also the founder of Krupa Consulting, a PR agency that focuses on food and wellness brands that has been around 16 years. So I'm old school.
I love it.
In many rights.
You've seen a lot of change, and you've probably seen a lot of different brands come and go in the CPG space.
So
And
many.
I'm sure mixing the consulting and the retail space, we'll get into that a little bit. But for those of you that don't know, you're based here in New York. Have you been based in New York your entire career?
No, I have been flirting with both New York and LA for a very long time, but LA used to be home, but then New York became home again right before the pandemic.
Okay, well, we share that. LA was where I was born and raised and spent the beginning of my life, and I definitely have a lot of friends who are always pulling at me to have me back there. So I know the bi-coastal life is tough, but there are moments I wish I lived in LA and moments I wish I lived in New York.
LA's changed so much. I mean, we could have a long conversation about the difference between LA and New
Yeah.
York. And I will say LA in like the early 2000s or 2010s, there was no better place to be. And now it's changed. So New York is a much better place to live now.
Exactly. And so, backing up a little bit, you have this amazing store. Tell us a little bit about the store and what was really like the impetus behind starting the Good Smart.
Yeah, there was really not like I wouldn't say there was never a business plan. There was never necessarily a strategy to open up the store. Having been in PR at that time, 8 years of having my own agency, but being in PR for 12 years prior to that, it was really seeing this emerging like better for you category within snacks bubbling up. One of our first PR clients in that category was Brownie Brittle, which I would say was one of the first in that arena. And then you started to see Whole Foods have like the really incredible local section. Whole Foods was starting to, be everywhere. And so when you looked at that, it was like, oh, but who's tackling the convenience store side of the world and who's putting all of these incredible brands into one place that also you could shop your values, but also like your eating style. When I say eating style, that's like non-GMO, no artificial flavors, no preservatives, which we've been from the start. And so it was really kind of just creating a place for all my favorite products, and making it easy for people to shop, but also celebrate the incredible makers. So it wasn't necessarily like, I'm going to open a store. It was more of like, should I open a store? And then you talk about it long enough, you either have to do it or you got to stop talking about it. So I did it.
That's right. That's so cool. And it's so interesting coming from the agency side of things and being in the PR world for so long. I'm sure you've seen a lot of brands. And at first, it was probably a little bit of an education for people who aren't living in this space of why people should try these new brands, why people should be interested in these new brands. What has that been like coming from like taking your agency hat off and having to put your store hat on?
It's a little bit different for me because we've always kind of played in that better for you arena. And so it wasn't ever more of there's always education, I would say. But I think the education is less of like, why do I want to eat healthier, better? It was more of like, ooh, what are these products? Because at that stage in 2018, you started to have this rise of Siete, of Olipop, of Partake. And so it was more of that excitement. It's nowhere where it is today from a CPG perspective, but it was like the bubbling of all of kind of like the industry and the category of where we are now. And so it was just start of that. So like, it was like, oh, this is different than Doritos. And so it was like, oh, I want to try it. And so there's always been this sense of discovery. So I think as we grew and opened up additional stores, it was more education on like, how do you change behavior of individuals, versus kind of like talk. And that's why we say better for you, not healthy, because everyone has a different version of health. But people want their Diet Coke. And so you got to be able to understand why people drink Diet Coke. And is it flavor? Is it caffeine? Is it what time of day? And then be able to find an alternative, because the new age sodas, if you're looking for caffeine for your afternoon pickup in a soda, they're not going to fill that void. So then you have to recommend something else. So it's like really human behavior of why a product is part of their routine and why they should swap another one for what they've been drinking and eating for decades.
Totally. I think the successful CPG brands are the ones that are able to ingrain themselves in the habits of the consumer. And if you are a habit forming brand, I think like you're going to be really successful. And that's the challenge, is getting a consumer to change from what they know and love. And
Yeah.
You mentioned a couple brands, Siete being one. We've seen them have explosive growth leading to a huge exit, which I'm sure is really fun for someone like yourself who kind of early on you see these small brands that really have a really mission driven, and then they grow to a point where they scale and exit.
Mhm.
Are there any brands right now that you're working with or that you have in the store that you're saying like those may be the next kind of like big exits or the back, maybe not next big exit, but like the next big consumer brand that people are paying attention to?
I mean, I think right now there's like the category of confections and like gummy candies, and I think there's going to be one or two of them that will. You have Rotten, which I think has done an incredible job in like the standpoint of like it falls in that better for you, but doesn't lean into so much of the healthy. And if you were to see it on a shelf in a gas station, in a conventional grocery store, in a natural store, you're going to pick it up. So I think that area has like a breadth of, you know, a breadth of depth that I think has a potential for longer term. And I think that you're also seeing something in like the beverage, whether that is a hydration. And I think you've seen that a little bit of that better hydration side. And you see even Gatorade right now coming up with like no artificial flavor Gatorade. And the fact that that's what they're pushing shows you there's a need for it. And so you have like, you know, high Q, you have OEM, you have a lot of like, you know, leisure projects. You have a lot of like the hydration. And I think that also we're going to see only continue to grow.
Yeah, I love the hydration space. I'm someone that has struggled with hydration my whole life growing up in California and dealing with the heat. And I
Yeah.
love what Leisure Hydration is doing. I love after their rebrand, it's so cute. It really hops off the shelf at
Yeah.
you. So what are some stores that you like to shop at in the city? There are so many. What are some that you maybe do your everyday grocery shopping at? And then some that are more specialty besides your own, of course.
I know it's hard. It's really hard to buy beverages from someone else when you're like, I have all my favorite beverages
I
here.
got all the favorites.
All my favorites. I really, you know, shop a little bit differently than most because I do get a lot of my staples and my sauces and all the things from the store or from our sample bin, which is part of owning a shop that you're able to try things every day. But I love, and now, Farm to People. I like had a brain fart for a second. I was like, oh, wait, what is it? I see the brand. But Farm to People. I do Farm to People all the time because the produce and like their sourcing of ingredients from farmers locally is incredible. And like they're prepared and like their grab and go version of food. And like their pot pie is amazing. Their tamales are incredible. And so that's kind of more of the area kind of I go into. Or, you know, I don't really shop that much at like grocery places because I think it's more of coffee shops and, you know, incubators that I love. And kind of testing and trying it that way. But Farm to People, no one's done it in New York, like you have to do Farm to People.
They're great. Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed using them. And, you know, you probably get sent stuff all the time, samples all the time. What are some stuff that you've been sent recently that you really love or that was really unique?
You know, right now I'm such a bad founder in trying products since we've opened up our new store. I'm so behind. And so this is not necessarily a new one, but I think newer to the East Coast. Activist honey and their honey bumps. Have you tried their honey bumps?
I haven't, but I've seen them.
Yeah. So those are what I have in my pocket pretty much all the time. They're incredible, just kind of giving you that little like sense of energy in the middle of the day. And right now we're really dabbling into a lot of protein drinks. And so we're looking for a protein drink that is also not in a plastic bottle because we don't have any plastic bottles within our store. And so that's been a little bit challenging. So that's a call out. So you have Elmhurst that has like their pure protein, their shake that they launched more recently. And then Ground Up, which is another one that are in more Tetris packs. But it's hard to find a good protein shake that's in non-plastic bottles.
I've noticed that. I feel like that is a big challenge in the industry. Too, in like the water space, you just recently saw Ui water come out, which is like in a new can that looks pretty interesting. And so, no, I feel like in the CPG space, there are things coming out all the time. It's hard to keep up with all the trends. what are some trends that you're paying attention to right now, or what are some that you think are a fad and are probably not here to stay?
I mean, I think there's so many things from like a wellness hacking perspective that I think people kind of want to go back to regular, kind of just like, is it really good? And are the ingredients sourced right? Like, I don't need every reishi mushroom and every adaptogen and nootropic in a beverage. Like, I want a really good beverage that tastes good, that has clean, where I understand where they're sourcing from ingredients. So I think the trend of wellness is peaking. And I think there's modes for that in the sense of like, I love a lipospheric, sachet where you have the Symbiotica, you have Beekeeper's Natural. But I think as it goes across like everything, like we don't need a functional granola in the sense of like, if it is the ingredients and there are health benefits to it, we don't. And I also think just like we've seen like the protein build, but I also think the protein build is not going to go anywhere. And I think you have really incredible products that are on the market today that are doing a clean version of it, which are incredible. We do PR for Cloud Popcorn, but it's something that I eat daily. And I just had a handful of the jalapeno like queso, and it's just like so good that I don't think is going to go. But I think that's also, if you think about the, economic state that we're in regards of like the basic building blocks of like what we need. And I think protein, fiber are there because those are things that we know our body needs. And like the additional things are nice to have, but not needed. And I think that's just like foundational, foundational health, which I think is just kind of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question. I was like a little bit rambling.
No, you totally did. I think that protein and fiber are definitely here to stay. I too love those jalapeno cheddar popcorn. It is like addictive how good they are. Their other stuff is great, but that line or that SKU in particular is quite good. But I think like you said, I think people are really trying to get back to like figuring out where the food came from. So whether it's figuring out where the farm is that the dairy came from or the meat. And I think that that's a little bit more accessible in the age of social media, where some of these farms now are actually on social media, and you can see where the chickens are in the pasture, or the cows, and I think it's very interesting how people are paying more attention to that. And I think brands too are starting to like really be particular with the family farms that they're partnering with. Is it regenerative dairy or the regenerative practices? And so, are those some of the things that you're looking for when evaluating brands?
We always do, and we've always had a sustainability side, and I think it's also understanding that, making sure that the brand has that longevity, because like local farms and local ingredients are great, but if you're getting eggs and milk, in the middle of winter and they're grass-fed, they're probably not, you know what I mean? So I think it's like also about the transparency of where things come from, and I think the education of humans and like where we are from an agricultural perspective is really important. And I think it's like exciting to see people kind of like going back into, let's really have like a hyper local like area of what we're eating. But by doing so, you also have to have more diversity in what we're eating, where it shouldn't be having strawberries in the middle of winter. We should also change and build upon like what we're eating, especially from a local produce perspective. But I think that also is something fun that the CPG industry has been doing, because you're able to introduce new flavors, and that is maybe through a snack that then you're introducing that to others. You're like, oh, I can have cactus in chip form. I can have cactus in here. So then when you see a cactus taco on the menu at a restaurant, you're like, oh, I kind of know what that flavor tastes like already. So you can be a little bit more adventurous and travel with your taste buds locally, but also translate that into like how you support local markets overall.
Yeah, no, I think being able to support the local farmers markets, especially out here, the farmers market culture in Brooklyn is much greater than it was in Manhattan. I feel like I have one on every corner on every day of the weekend, and but it is fun to be able to support the local farmers and have the local stands and the people that I go to, on a weekly basis. And I'm getting, you've mentioned, pot pies earlier, and there's one guy that has a chicken pot pie stand that's just like the best chicken pot pie. He's on the farmers market on Fifth Avenue on Sundays, and I love visiting him. But
what's the name? And do I need to carry it in the store? Do they do frozen?
Noble Farms. You should check it out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard of them. That's
they're
incredible.
fantastic. Yeah, the best chicken pot pie. Like every time I see him, and he's usually sold out, so I try to get there early. But his other pies are amazing too, so definitely check it out. There's yeah, I just love, especially New York. There's so many like people who will start as stands then that will open storefronts. There's a really cute couple who, this Indian couple, they would have this stand on the Fort Greene farmers market every Saturday. I'm blanking on their bakery, but they're looking for a storefront, and they just had the most incredible baked goods, sandwiches. Obviously not CPG, but CPG,
But
adjacent.
adjacent, but that's like where they
Yeah,
start. You know what I mean? And that's like, if you look at, do you know
exactly.
16 mil in Talia at
Yeah,
16 mil?
yeah,
Like she started also very small and like, did, I can think Newmarket was like the crowdfunding that she like was able to like open up her store, and like the community was able to support you. And I think that's like also just so fun, is like you don't necessarily need to go so wide, but you can start to fund within your community and within like the individuals that are supporting you already, so you don't have to like go too big too fast. And I think that's the bigger issue across CPG. It's like go deep instead of wide, and like own an area and market and really go in there. And I really like your Lunin bottle that you're sipping from right now.
these are so good. I love them. I'm obsessed with them, and it's not an ad. I just am obsessed with them.
It's
And
still or sparkling?
the still, I need to try the sparkling.
Well, the sparkling is amazing, so I'm sorry, it's
Oh,
going to be your new favorite.
my new obsession. I love it. Yeah, it's I think that's what's special about New York, and is being able to build a community. And I think you made a great point that a lot of founders could take that advice, is going slow and going at your own pace. I think a lot of people, especially in the age of social media, get caught up in people that get some early virality and social media buzz, and that doesn't always translate then to retail doors or to actual growth in sales. And I think people get caught up in the social media grind. It's, oh, this brand has grown to X amount of followers, but it's like they're not in X amount of doors. And so I think like for you, it's like what you said for founders, like finding your path, kind of finding your pace that you want to go at, that you want to build at, I think is so important.
Yeah, I think it's like both. And I think it's like founders really need to like understand like what success looks like for them, but also like not to compare yourself, because I think there's something beautiful about being your darling within your neighborhood and say within New York, and then kind of growing nationally, because it's what, it's like the more doors you have, the more problems you have, the more funding you need, the more that I think founders are taken away from the things that they love, and like they're then in fundraising mode nonstop, and they're not building the brand that they necessarily like. They're not doing what they love. And so I think it's a matter of like, how do you change what success looks like for everyone? And you can't compare yourself. I mean, brands CPG wise normally take 10 years to build and have like an exit if you are, and that's 10 years. Like you're going to be the hot girl at a food show for maybe 1 or 2 years of that. And then you're going to have 8 years of grinding. Like, is
Yeah.
that what you want? Even in the world of social media today, it's the circular cycles of popularity and trends go so fast that, you got to be able to withstand that.
Yeah, it's tough because everyone wants to be the Gruns, the 3 years to exit darling child, and that's just not the reality of what CPG is. It's
No.
a slow grind. You look at companies like Purely Elizabeth, where she's been building an amazing clean granola brand for I think like
Yeah.
almost 17 years now, and so
Yep.
it just takes time, and it just takes finding your audience and your consumer, and staying true to the mission, oftentimes, and not straying too far from your North Star. So,
Well, I think that's like the brands that really stick to their North Star and that they're still in it, in like the sense of like having a, profitable business and doing it right. I mean, look at like Honey Mamas, and like you look at Quinn, you look at Purely Elizabeth, that they've all are OGs in the industry, and their North Star of the quality of the ingredients, what they stand for from regenerative and like from a wellness perspective, has not wavered. And that is because like they're building something with integrity versus building it to pop into scale. They're changing the food system, and they're changing the way that the CPG industry works.
yeah, no, it's so important when brands really stick to their core values. You can tell, when those are really just being, adhered to the entire mission and the entire journey, and the ones that stray from them, it's like, no, you had such a great thing going, but it's hard because in this space, capital is kind of the most important thing.
Yeah.
And brands are constantly having to raise capital, and oftentimes then it's at the expense of the mission and finding a cheaper supply. And so kind of shifting back to your own business, and as you've, built the agency, you've built the stores out, what does the vision for the future look like? Is it more stores? Is it, growing the stores that you have in the agency? Is it having your own brands, whatever it might be?
Definitely not having my own brands. I have definitely not my own brand. I think that people in the CPG world industry that create their own products are, unicorns and superstars because like there's a lot of things not within your control. But for us, it's like hard. I have never really had a 5-year plan in place because like trends and things shift so quickly that if you have a North Star of 5 years, yes, we want to grow. We want to be able to continue to make an impact. And I think for the Goods Mart and Krupa Consulting, for us, the goal always has been to how do we elevate emerging brands? And that is through visibility across press. That is now through social platforms. But also the goods, that's been our goal from day one. It's like, how do we give shelf space to brands that are building in the industry in 2018 is so different than it was today. And with that, it's also like, not charging brands to be in the store and looking at other modes of that. So we have a really robust curation vertical. We're now doing like hotel mini bars and corporate pantries. And so we are placing products and brands into 70 different locations. And that's everything from Hotel Chelsea to Fifth Avenue Hotel to Alfred Coffee and Convenes nationwide. Yeah. And so that is more of how we measure our success is like, what are the stories that we're hearing from the brands? How are we getting them into people to taste and try? And hotels and corporate pantries are, I like to say you have active participants in snacking. You get it to me free, or I'm on vacation and I don't rip it open. Like you're going to discover it and find it as much as I love our stores and may have more. But getting the product out there and seeing it in the wild, I think is the happiest thing in how we can make an impact.
Yeah. I love it. So you guys have really become curators for bigger organizations, brands, hotels, chains, whatever you want to call them, which is really, I think, a testament to, the brand that you've built with the Goods Mart and Krupa and, becoming kind of a curator in the space. And so that's so exciting. That's really cool. Are you guys like attending the Summer Fancy Food Show, or will you guys be there?
Always,
Yeah.
I'm judging on Monday morning. And so I'm going to be there. Always love walking. I think Fancy Food is one of my favorite shows of all time.
I'm so excited. So we'll have to potentially run into each other or get together for a coffee. I'd love to run into you in person. And then, I'll have to swing by the panel, I guess, that you're judging. Or is it a competition is it a specific category or... I don't want to put you on the spot.
You're putting me on the spot right now. Now I'm looking. I was like, what am I doing? And I should know this, and it's such a bad thing to not to know. And it is 100% not on my calendar right now. I'm judging. I love it, and so we'll figure that out. I'm judging at 9 a.m. Things have been so busy. When you open up a store, a month flies by, and you're like, where have I been? What have I been doing? And now it's time to like come up from, my little, like, I felt like I'm a turtle and my head's coming out now.
Come up for air.
It's like, I don't even know the analogies.
No, I know what you're trying to say.
And I can't believe that it's already July. And so I think that's like also, and I think things are moving so quickly these days that it's like,
I can't believe it's almost July. That's crazy.
It's great, but I think, we're going to do a lot more this summer too. We're kind of doing fun outside events, so you have to come out and see the store. And then
I need to next time I'm in the neighborhood.
Yeah, we're doing something with Startup CPG on July 9th. And so we're doing an event outside the store. So we have a really nice outside area. And then we're toying with Sunday afternoons, get back into like the swing of things, and after hours with chefs and having people surprise and delight. And the store is the first time we've had booze. So I can sell booze.
Wow, cool.
And so it's been so fun to like test and try beer now.
Yeah.
And also being like, but what do people drink? And so it's been really talking to customers all the time, being like, what beer do you like? You know, like which kind? Like a watermelon sour, never had before. Do you think it will sell or not sell? And then when you have your ethos of better for you, and like the alcohol industry does not have health parameters around it of like non-GMO, no artificial flavors. So you also are trying to figure out like what is that balance for us as a better for you store. And so it's been interesting to kind of feel like, okay, what are our pillars in this now? Craft beers, like, you know, Owl's Brew has like a spiked soda now that is really great. It's like non-GMO. It's like no, like all organic like ingredients. And so I'm like, they do exist, you know? And so
No, they do. Yeah. It's I stopped drinking about 3 years ago. And so I've been on this beautiful journey with the NA space, which has opened up my eyes to all the different options that they have. And so if you need any input on non-alcoholic beers, I got you.
which one's your favorite?
There's a local Brooklyn one called Good Times. And
You like Good Times, yeah. They're great.
I really like Good Times. I tried the new Crazy Mountain George Clooney one.
Yeah.
It was good. They had like a lime one. It tasted just like a Corona. I'm an IPA person though. And so if I can find like a hazy IPA NA, it's like my choice.
Have you tried Bureau?
Love Bureau.
Bureau's great.
That and Athletic are like, you know, the two kind of front
Yeah.
runners and probably my two favorites.
We have Bureau in the store. And then have you tried Lapos, their Negroni water?
You know, yeah, I have. And that's really good too.
Like their
love that.
Negroni water, we're the first store to have their Negroni water. And so it's like a light version of like a Negroni, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like more chuggable. And so those are fun.
Yeah, no, I love it. The NA space it's growing and it's crazy. And I'm trying to think. There's a better for you canned cocktail Goldilocks. I don't know if you know Erin, the founder.
No.
She's based here in New York, but
Cool. Do you want to
she's
connect
trying.
me?
Yeah, I absolutely will. No, she's great. So yeah, well, this has been so much fun. Great meeting you, hearing a little
too.
bit about the story. If there's anything else that you want to tell about your story or convey about the brands, now would be, you know, the last or the best time to do it.
No, I thank you so much for chatting with me. I feel like it was more of a conversation than anything else, which is great. So thank you for the conversation.
That's the goal, is to make it fun. So, well, I hope we run into each other at the event this weekend. I'll be looking for you. And if not, I'll try to come to the event on the 9th.
Please do.
It was Rachel Krupa from the Good Smart and Krupa Consulting. You can find the Good Smart in South Williamsburg and online at thegoodsmart.com. For my complete weekly roundup, you can subscribe to the Dieter Digest on Substack, follow Deets Eats NYC on Instagram and TikTok, and rate Unpackaged Goods 5 stars wherever you listen. And if you really liked this episode, I would be so grateful if you shared it with another founder, friend, family member, lover, whoever. Be so grateful. We out.